Hello everybody, welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing you a brand new review and what will be the final review from our London Film Festival coverage of 2025. It has been one very busy month. This is the 15th video, the 14th review, and I'm going to be talking about Wasteman, the directorial debut from Cal Macau, starring David Jonsson and Tom Blyth. And I scheduled this one last on purpose. Not only does it have the furthest away release date of February 2026, this is kind of a film I wanted to settle and have some thoughts with first. I can't wait to talk about this film in a little bit more detail, but I do want to sort of kick off with a thank you to everybody who has been watching our videos across the festival. There's been a lot of uploads. Probably doesn't help everyone's feeds. They probably don't want that, and so many. If you're watching shorts, maybe you're watching a short I'm going to upload in like 3 months time to bring back now to today. Thank you all so much for the support, for the comments, for the films people spoke about, the films I've missed, the other people I've been able to see across the festival. It's been a wonderful time. It's been a very busy time as well. And Wasteman was a film that I was very excited to see, and a film I was very lucky to see at the festival, and I'll give a little bit of context on that shortly. My thoughts going into this. So I'm a massive fan of David Jonsson. I haven't even seen Industry yet. It's on my watch list. I loved him in Alien. I loved him in Rye Lane and The Long Walk this year. And when that London Film Festival schedule came up, I saw a film. It said David Jonsson. I'm going to go and see this film. I want to see this film. I was gutted to see it was screening pre-festival for press. So I wasn't able to see this until... Wow, I didn't know if I'd get the chance to see it. There was then a second press screening. For anyone curious, it was added on Wednesday the 15th. So if you're curious about how these screenings go, Wasteman was booked in from 10:30am to 12pm. And then I literally had to run with a few of friends across the cinema to get to another screening to start the Bruce Springsteen film. Then finished. I had 20 minutes before Giant, the Pierce Brosnan film. So my last day at the festival was absolutely packed. I was carrying all of my stuff, but I was delighted I got to see Wasteman. I did pick it over a couple of the other big films showing because I wanted to see this, a British drama, of course. So if I start talking about the BFI synopsis now, this is: a convict's chances for early prison release come under threat from his ruthlessly violent new cellmate in this uncompromisingly brutal British thriller. Now, I know this premiered at Toronto, and I believe the trailer and poster have now just released this week at the time of me recording. So there's a little bit more context out there for people. But as I said, I didn't know what to expect going into this. I quite enjoy prison dramas. We don't get too many of them. And I think when you can get a great one, I know a lot of people will talk about Bronson all the time for that. But this is a film that is single-handedly set entirely in prison from start through to end. It's not about people's lives or what they're doing before, when they're getting caught, when they're being pulled into it, what happens after. This is a prison drama outright, and I think that's very important to know for your decision to see it in there. The key for me with this being a British film as well, it being set in a British prison, obviously our justice system is very different to America, and when you see a lot of prison dramas you do tend to think of American films more so than here, which obviously are a very different environment. It's not that I've been in a prison for either country, I wouldn't be able to tell you about experiences, but when you see videos online or you see stuff on the news and it's about officers or treatment of people in prisons, it is always fascinating, and I think it's always really daring for a director to take that and do a story on screen. Now, my understanding, this is a fictional piece of work. This isn't based off any two real-life individuals, and this is Cal Macau's directorial debut. Philip Barantini is a producer who people will know from Adolescence, from Boarding Point, which is a great name to have attached to the film. So all this stuff I've been able to read since seeing the film I've really enjoyed, and I have to really talk about my thoughts on the film too. I thought this was a great film. This was a fantastic drama, and it is one I really do recommend for people to see. And I say that very early. I know I tend to end our reviews with the recommendation side of things, but I think what we have here is a film that will be watched by many within England, a film that I don't think will be massive on its release, and in the greatest compliment possible, absolutely a film that when it ends up streaming somewhere, whether it be Disney or Netflix, I don't know, this will have a whole surge of people watching it. This will be a film people are talking about, and I can imagine if we were at school, this is one of those sorts of films that people would be talking about. For anyone curious what I mean by that, if you're in England, if you're a similar age to me, when things like adulthood came out, everyone was sort of seeing those when we were like 14, 15. This is maybe one of those types of films. It's a very different film, much better quality-wise, not as teeny or drama-y, but it has that sort of British thriller that it's not this hunky-dory, everything's how great in the land of Britain, look at our great police system. This is like utter carnage. And I think there's going to be an audience that want to see this film. I think what it displays, if I talk about the characters, we've got the character of Taylor, played by David Jonsson. He is up for early release, and he basically needs to be good for the next few weeks. And in turn of that, he then gets new cellmate, which is Dee, played by Tom Blyth. Now, again, I don't know what's been shown in the trailer, but this film does a remarkable job. And a key thing I have to say with these performances of the actors, the tension throughout the 90-minute runtime, which absolutely flies by, was second to none. There were certain scenes where I didn't have a single clue what was going to happen. And when you're rooting for a character, 2 characters, 3, you really are intrigued at what is going to happen next with the story. It will catch you by surprise with certain moments, with certain, not necessarily plot twists, but the unravelling of stories or what is going on. There's so much to enjoy with this, but there's more to appreciate than what there is to enjoy. It's, as I said, it's a very daring film, and it's one I'm instantly saying to make the effort to go and see. I've mentioned about tension, and it's really tricky to talk about this because I don't want to give too much away. You find out more about your characters as the film progresses, and whilst you have one opinion of them maybe at the start, how they evolve and how they differentiate is really what makes this, and it is far more complex than it's making out. I think the choice to focus on 2 inmates in particular was very smart. Now, Tom Blyth, I didn't think I was familiar with when I was watching it. It was only until I got home that evening when I realised that he played President Snow in Hunger Games, the most recent one, the young version, and I liked him when he played President Snow. Obviously he looks completely different in this. He's quite terrifying in this film, and he does such a good job of playing that as well. And again, this comes down to the direction. This comes down to them shooting at an actual prison as well. There is authenticity in this. When you're looking at the walls, you're looking at the damage, the stains, what's been there. You can only think about this long process of being in those cells for years. The pyramid of showing different people within the prison structures, the hierarchies that come from that, the gangs at different prisons and how they have these moments with one another. There's some funny stuff too, but overall as a drama, it really did function for me. I can't sit here and say it's one of the best films of the year because it's a 2026 release for me. I class them based on the country they're released in, and obviously this is the UK, so that puts it 4 from this festival. And I've got to say, this is probably like up there with Is This Thing On in terms of how I compare it to Giant and Saipan, which are obviously 4 completely different films too. But I'm recommending this film to watch. It's hard to talk about, and if I'm totally honest, I would like to see this again. That was a very busy day. I didn't even get minutes to settle with watching it because I was then immediately thrown into Springsteen. So for all the talk of the festival and everything I go on about, and this being the last review, it can also be difficult at times watching so many films in a short space of time, that if this had been something I'd gone to the cinema to see by myself on like a Friday evening, the drive home I'd be sat there thinking about certain things from this. And I think people will have that. It's very impactful viewing, and when you get to those final scenes, it is the edge of the seat stuff. You do not have a clue what is going to happen next. If you think you're 1 step ahead, you're not, you're 2 steps behind, and that's where the film does a phenomenal job for me. It's a brilliant story with an excellent cast and a great director involved, and I cannot wait to see what all of these move on to next in their next project. So that's my recommendation. Go and see this when it comes out in February. If you're watching it in February, this review somehow survived till February, come back and let me know your thoughts, and I do want to get them on this one. So that is me rounding out from this review. That is me rounding out from London Film Festival coverage. I hope you've all enjoyed it. You can have a bit of relaxation now. I'm not going to be spamming the timeline with more reviews daily for a very, very long time. I'm going to give myself a break for a week. There's some new releases to talk about. There'll be some wrestling pay-per-views in November. It wasn't just the festival that was busy. We had Tron out just before it. We had wrestling pay-per-views. It was Peacemaker Season 2. There's been so many things on. So thank you to everyone that's been tuning into every video. I really do appreciate it. If you're watching our shorts, you're finding us through maybe Instagram or on YouTube shorts, then I appreciate that too. I hope you've enjoyed this review. I hope you've enjoyed our coverage at the festival. I'd love to be there at 2026 if I can make it work. And that's the joy of this, is the time you spend with people watching these films and those cumulative experiences. So that is me rounding out. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.